Very excited today to welcome some special guests from a company I had the pleasure of first meeting. I believe at CES this year, and been using quite a bit, and just been really impressed with. As soon as I saw this, I was like, I haven't seen anything like this, and it's only gotten a lot better since. So we'll put the Product Hunt link in today if anyone's on Product Hunt and can give it a few extra votes. It's been climbing the charts today, so also just a particularly exciting day to have Richard McBeath here. And Richard, I'm gonna give you the mic and everything, but for everyone, if you haven't been on these before, by all means, like share thoughts in the comments. We'll welcome questions and want to make it interactive as well. But Richard, why don't you share who you are and what you're up to?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the invite, David, and great to meet everyone. So look, I'll give you a little bit of background just about sort of like who I am and maybe how we got here, and then I'll just dive into what we've built, and hopefully it's interesting nonetheless. But I live here in Los Angeles, Redondo Beach. I've been here for about like the last 10 years. Originally from Sydney, Australia. Spent about five and a half years in London, working for a number of different digital advertising agencies from about sort of 2005, 2006, and moved over to Dubai, where I then was head of, at the time, Middle East and North Africa's largest digital ad agency, which we had offices across like Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, Abu Dhabi, and a bunch of other locations in MENA. And really, like, just to accelerate things, I'd spent sort of about six years or so in fintech when I landed in the US. And one thing I'd discovered was this sort of like proliferation of alternative investments that were coming into the market, and different ways of sort of like accessing those investments. So I ended up with my co-founder, CTO and co-founder, starting a business called Money Made, and it was a investment discovery platform for alternative investments. And really what it was a collection of like a lot of data, insights, and research around different asset types and asset classes. And then we created a lot of sort of like educational content, thought pieces, thought papers around that. And we raised a couple of rounds of funding off the back of it. We launched that in March of 2020, like right when the pandemic hit. And it just so happened that online investing became a massive thing. So we had this like enormous launch pad then. And really, as time went on, we built out quite a large team on the content side of things. So like writers, editors, designers, social folk, research analysts, and it became quite sort of resource intensive. And we decided probably 2 years ago to really start to look at ways to streamline that process and automate things where we could, for our business, Money Made. And over the course of time, we started out, funnily enough, with like optimizing our content for conversion and engagement. And that was all about sort of getting users from our content into the conversion funnel. Again, sort of automatically with different calls to action and tools. And from there, we sort of realized that with these tools that we'd created that optimize our content, we're getting all this incredible data and insight back around like what topics and pain points were resonating the most based on that engagement data. So then we started to sort of like work out ways that we could automate the content strategy off the back of it. So we'd start creating more content around the topics and pain points that were resonating most with our audience. And from there, once we'd sort of nailed a lot of the automation around content strategy and engagement, like the obvious next step was actually to start just automating the creation. So we did that. And then, eventually we took a step back, realized that we were producing this incredibly well, like researched, insight sort of driven content and strategy, creating this amazing content for web and social using audio, image, text. We decided to sort of package it up and take it to market as a product, with very little expectation. back in October, just of last year. And like, lo and behold, that's, here we are. And Captain is the name of this product. And now like 99% of our resource, our time and effort is now on this product, which I'm going to take you through. David, should I just sort of jump in and start, taking folk through what we've got?
Yeah, let's take a look. Definitely helps to see how this works and what it does. And then
awesome. Let me know if you can all, David, you can see the screen.
Outdoorsy is loading, and
yep,
a lot of numbers. So.
Okay, great. Awesome. So look, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take you through, because really there's a lot to Captain. I've already sort of talked about sort of a lot of the pieces of the pie, and I think it's all going to come together when you see it. And what we're looking at here, let's just start off with like what a dashboard looks like for a customer of ours. Now, Outdoorsy, obviously a customer that's been with us for the last sort of few months. Now here you can see that we're tracking all the different sort of all the different activities around our content across web and social, the engagement data. But really what I just want to draw the eye to is how Captain identifies these customer pain points and topics that are really resonating with the brand's audience. And I'll show you how and where we get this engagement data in a moment. But Marketing 101 says, once you've established or identified topics and pain points that are resonating, like create more of that or create more content around that. And Captain then automatically uses that engagement data on those topics and pain points and maps out the content strategy week over week. So continues to optimize the content strategy, again, based on that performance data. And it creates these content or campaign briefs. So this is where it sort of identifies related topics, addressing like similar or related pain points, and just dives deeper into it. Now, one of the most important components of certainly what we did at MoneyMade and what we wanted to build out with Captain was like ensuring that everything was like rich in research, insights, data, statistics, like a valuable piece of content. So we ended up creating this automated research engine that actually heads out into Google and conducts the research on your behalf. So what it does is that it looks for, was there a question? Sorry, was somebody just wanting to interject?
That you're facing, what do you think your problem is? And
I think we're good. I'll try to see if there's anyone to mute.
Easy. So as I mentioned, heads out into Google and researches on your behalf, and it finds any data, statistics, or insights relevant to the topic and campaign that you're creating, and also shows you the source. So one thing that we really struggled with when using like AI, AI tools and platforms for content creation was like often the links and the sources were erroneous, were dead, were hallucinations, were even taking us to competitors, and just sort of like automatically inserted without that control. And for us, we really wanted the control to be able to sort of add or remove and decide what's included. So you've got that sort of ability. And when it comes to research as well, and I'll show you this in a moment, we also have a research hub, which is where it's a dumping ground for you. So you can put in any white papers or research you've conducted yourself. Doesn't have to be related to anything specific or a campaign. Our engine will also automatically dip into the research hub, filter through that, and pull anything relevant back into this research. So automatically researches Google, automatically dips into your research hub if there's anything there, and allows you or gives you the control to include this. And that'll just automatically be injected into the content once it's created. Now, I think just to sort of like recap what we've done or seen here is like Captain's automatically mapping out your content strategy based on the performance data. It's then identifying those related pain points, those topics. It's conducting the research for you automatically, and it's then allowing you to sort of like insert or select what you'd like. Now, the third piece of the pie here in terms of like inputs into the Captain engine is around collaboration and commentary. So one thing that we found to be like so important for a number of reasons was was collecting like unique experts' perspectives or commentary, thoughts, opinions from others in your network, and having that injected as quotes and paraphrasing. So we created this functionality to very easily collaborate with others and collect their commentary. So how it works is you just click to request, you get this unique link here, and you can share this with anyone you like. So you can post on LinkedIn, you can share it with internal employees, customers, prospects, and ultimately what they'll land on is something like this, where Captain will get their name, their title, their company, so we can automatically cite them in the content that's being published. So in web, tag them on social. They'll see the campaign name. Captain also provides some guidance around like what you can discuss. Although you are the expert and the professional, it's also just nice to have some sort of like, help and guidance. But here we use audio to collect it. So how it works is the contributor can literally just click to record, and they'll just chat through their thoughts, feelings, experiences, perspective. Once they've finished, literally, so they can do this on the phone, drive to work, like takes them 30 seconds. They'll click finish. That'll automatically be transcribed and then injected into the content. As I mentioned, different quotes, paraphrasing, etc. So combines that third-party research with the commentary. Now, once you click to create, you basically get this suite of assets, marketing and sales assets that's created. So, of course, you get your long form article with all the research and data included. You'll get this carousel of imagery, which is also AI generated to relate to the topic of the campaign. You get your social activity and posts for LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. An infographic, so a fully branded infographic or one pager is also created. And we actually automatically use this, which I'll show you in a moment, but can be used as sales or marketing materials. A newsletter, as well as also a podcast. So a fully narrated, very conversational podcast is generated. And once again, we leverage this automatically, which I'll show you. Now, the beautiful thing about this is you obviously edit, make changes, whatever you want to do on Captain, you can then publish it to your CMS. So whether you're on WordPress, Webflow, Shopify, doesn't matter. You can publish it direct. It'll replicate the formatting of your existing content there, push that across, also across your socials. So you can create and distribute centrally from Captain. Now, I've sort of like taken you through that creation process. The second piece of the pie is around engagement. So what happens when you automatically publish this content, either through Captain or you just, publish it, paste it into your CMS, however you wish to do it. What we do is we automatically optimize it for engagement and conversion with this suite of tools. So I'd mentioned previously that Captain automatically creates the podcast. So that's inserted into the content, once again, without you having to do anything. A clickable summary is also created for like easy navigation, and a nice little snapshot just highlighting sort of like what the article is about. We then move on to essentially trying to educate readers, users about the product and services. So in this case, like Moneyline. So Captain automatically identifies keywords that are related to the product's benefits and makes them clickable. We use AI to essentially explain why, like contextually, why that's relevant. And we pull out highlights around like product highlights, a nice video component. This is all about product education and pushing them into the funnel. We then have other calls to action, like this contextual CTA here. So this is, again, created in real time, inserted automatically. And how this one works is Captain analyzes the previous paragraph the user has just read and essentially says, this is why, in this case, Moneyline is relevant to what you've just read. So hyper contextual, not only to the topic of the article, but also the section of the article that the user's reading. And those sort of CTAs are also just sprinkled throughout the content, and you have full control over what you want to include. I mentioned earlier that we also create that fully branded infographic or one pager. This is also automatically leveraged as a lead magnet. So Captain matches up related infographics to the article topic that the user's reading and inserts this lead magnet. So, download the seven essentials to secure your finances. And then at the bottom here, we have this control panel, which just sort of floats with the user. And as you imagine, allows them to, here's the podcast. I think you can hear, actually, we're on Loom.
Picture this. You just stumbled upon a prepaid debit card and you're holding.
So there's the podcast, also related podcasts. We have contextual CTAs again here. So AI explaining why Moneyline is related to the topic that the article. Again, the lead magnet, and we match up related articles to what the user's reading. So then all of that sort of data, engagement data, is pulled back into Captain, which, as I mentioned before, identifies pain points and topics that resonate with the audience and maps out the content strategy. Now, we also offer and map out different campaign types. So depending on sort of like where that user is in the funnel. So top of funnel is obviously around sort of like educational topics. So related to the products and services you offer or the market that you're in. Company announcements, like super important, middle of funnel content that should be published. So this could be, you've just hit a milestone, you've had a new hire, new product, like awards and recognition. So you can select that. Now, again, we also try and leverage audio where possible. You can always enter some details here, but you can also just chat about sort of like this new hire. So, we've just hired Nick Rizzo as head of our customer success, etc. Now, as soon as you submit that, it'll automatically convert it into this suite of assets like across that I've just sort of taken you through. Case studies, bottom of funnel, like probably my favorite campaign type. Now, this is where you can send customers a link to provide an audio testimonial. So just as I showed you that you can get experts and others to provide commentary for the educational content, you can use for case studies. So a client will literally click, they'll just chat about their experiences with you, and that's automatically transcribed, and it's then turned into a full case study campaign. So this is an example of one that we did, where the beautiful thing about audio, I'll mention, is that when you get people to talk, they cover a lot of ground, and like one sort of testimonial gets broken out into many. So in this instance, you can see that like Early Bird said, it's a game changer for startups, founders, and marketing professionals, become a critical component of our marketing tech stack, significantly enhanced user engagement, it's tripled our conversion rates. So it constructs all of this, and also like the multiple assets. So I mentioned that it also creates those social posts. It tags the individuals in. It pulls out their some quotes, the company, so further amplification, better distribution. Now, the final one here we have is competitor comparisons. So this is where you can actually add like URLs or upload PDFs, any sort of like detail around a competing product or service. And Captain will automatically sort of construct this like feature comparison. So you can see the tools automatically inserted, but here the feature comparison where it essentially matches or compares different features from your product versus your competitor. I always encourage like anyone who's creating content on Captain, because I love the feature, but it provides a lot of value, is to provide some audio. So for a competitor comparison, nothing's better than getting some audio from, maybe the head of product, the CEO, other folk in the business that can actually explain why the product is superior and different to that specific competitor. So what we've covered right now is those two primary pillars around content creation, engagement, so the tools and the different sort of campaigns. The final one that we have is what we call identify. And this is, I'll show you actually here. This is where we actually identify the specific individuals that are visiting your website, your content and other pages. So it could be the content you're publishing. It could also be your homepage, your pricing page, etc. Now we can only identify like US visitors, and we typically can identify between about 20 to 30%. So think like 1 in 3, 1 in 4 visitors. But we pull out their name, their title, their company, LinkedIn address, their work company email, company size, industry, and allow you to ultimately like connect directly with them. So the whole idea here is like essentially create content that that drives awareness and traffic back to your website, engage them with the tools, and then identify who they are so you can continue that sort of sales process. I'll mention as well that we also have a Slack integration. So you'll get pinged in Slack automatically with those leads, so you can instantly connect, instantly sort of like continue that conversation. A couple of other features I can just quickly touch on, and then I'll wrap it up. But we also have the ability to add different personas. So if you've got sort of different folk in the business, different authors, you can add those individuals, create content basically from their perspective using their tone, and you can also publish direct to their LinkedIn. So here it is actually for me, my writing style and tone definition, and this is captured basically by sharing a handful of either like inspirational, aspirational social posts to gather that tone, angle of focus or domain expertise. So the content that I create as CEO is going to be very different to the content that, say, Dennis, our CTO, creates. His focus and expertise and perspective will be from much more technical standpoint, where mine will be from like a leadership, company culture and growth standpoint. So when you're ultimately sort of creating that content, you can click here and you can select, the different personas or folk that you'd like to create that content from. So I think that sort of covers it. Once again, like everything here is around, leveraging those insights to create this data-led strategy, create multi-channel, multimedia content, engage them with the tools, and ultimately then, I identify them. So I'll come back and join you.
Well, this is great, Richard. I gotta say, I'm getting some of the best feedback I've heard on any one of these calls. So people are really excited about this. And one of the reasons I was excited to use this is because like I've been in these jobs where I come in and I'm like I know that a lot of this content marketing is important, right? I don't usually know what it's actually doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of us in this room that are coming from that side of like, okay, like we're doing this, but we're like trying to prove the value of our own existence here, or at least the value of a lot of the work we're providing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, when I talk to people outside of the ad industry, I'm like that line that I know half my advertising is working, I just don't know which half, like from John Wanamaker, like it's still there. And you're saying like that a good chunk of what we're doing, we can actually then show it's actually doing something for us, or we can make it work harder. It's I think the dream for many of us like liberal arts kids who now are trying to make that business case. So thank you for that. I want to see what questions are coming up from the room. I know a lot of our toughest questioners are in here right now. Like I've used a lot of these features myself, and even just seeing like every week, I feel like you're rolling out something significant.
Yeah, it's moving quickly. And to your point, I think at least I can empathize everything you've said, because I've been a marketer for the good part of 18 years sort of thing, and spent my first 12 years in agencies and working for different businesses. And it is one of those things where like every business wants to see results immediately. Content is typically associated with like long play, and it's just not necessarily the case. So I think for us, what's been interesting in terms of like use cases, and maybe like interesting, maybe somewhat of a challenge for us, is that we're getting a bunch of like companies and brands come to us that have like zero.
现在我这又在听一个，
Oh, what
Well,
was that?
yeah, we've got some. Feel free to everyone to be on mute.
Oh yeah.
On that,
Yes.
but
Yeah,
yeah, I am happy to have some I'll call on Jay-Z first. There's some great comments, questions coming in the chat, and we can start going through those. But Jay-Z, welcome back.
Thanks, David. I don't know if I'm one of those tough question askers, and I don't know if that's good or bad either. So.
I make sure everyone who comes on here knows that like there are people here who that like who aren't asking softballs, and like it's like the I was describing this group to someone yesterday when I was on a call with Mitch. It's like, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, right? So
Yes.
yeah.
I was briefed to in some capacity that that I should be expecting some hardballs. So far away.
I love this product. I love how polished it is, right? Because sometimes AI feels like a draft, and even though I'm putting my expert opinion, I feel like it's just much closer to publishable post. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And my question is, from marketing to sales, how do you qualify? Like, is this a tool to qualify
Quantify.
high quality leads that might convert, or how do you use this marketing to work with sales teams in a B2B space?
Yeah, so it's really interesting, and honestly, like I think it's one of those things that we're just seeing evolve, right? As in, we've just launched the identity product or identify product over the last 7 days. And what's been interesting is, we've been focused on creation and engagement. We launched Captain like leads a week ago, and now sales folk are starting to join calls. We're starting to be introduced to sales. So what we're seeing really, like top level, is like these leads are being pinged into Slack, right? And now like sales are essentially joining that channel, and sales are really just picking up, sort of filtering through those ICPs and outreaching. So right now, like our next, like right now, I'd say like it's somewhat of a, let's say personalized versus manual, like personalized outreach, where like one-to-one you're sort of connecting with these individuals. But we're currently working on integrations with like HubSpot and other CRMs, where that can just be sort of like automated, flowed into some sort of like sequence, and then we'll start to see sort of how that pans out. But I think from and I didn't mention this, what's interesting as well is like we're really starting to understand like more of this demographic, like demographic sort of makeup of users that are visiting the site. So we're looking at ways that we can actually leverage that in the content strategy as well. So sort of like using this demographic data that we're pulling, that I've shown you, to better sort of hone that strategy that's being optimized week over week. So sort of to answer your question, I think really like what's happening right now is like sales teams and marketing teams are more just like coming together and starting to work it out. So I don't have like the firm answer of like, where does the baton change? It just seems that when these leads come in, sales are sort of like swooping in, grabbing them, and then sort of like running. And maybe that's the best thing. I'm just not sure yet.
Yeah, I love that you have the bottom of the funnel identified as case studies and competitive, so I can see how that would integrate with the CRM, and in addition to sure like start a new excuse for sales to have a new conversation or make a phone call. So it's really exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jay-Z. We got a lot coming in, and I'm actually going to go with the most recent first, because it seems like there are a few thumbs ups on that one from Kathy. How do you get opt-in for marketing and sales outreach from the site visitors?
Yeah, so it's a combination of first and third. I knew this would come. So first and third party cookie data, device ID, and an IP address. We then have access to this publisher network, which we match those individuals up to. So that's why I said we typically can identify between 20 and 30% of those individuals, like have they opted in on a publisher site cookies to cookies, we can then access them. But had they sort of declined cookies across that sort of network, then we can't identify them.
Great. Thanks. If anyone has follow-ups on that, please do. If anyone wants to ask anything live with on video or even just audio, feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going to the chat. Are there integrations with CRMs like HubSpot?
So that's on the way. So we're currently working on an integration with HubSpot, and then we'll just be flowing out sort of like additional like CRMs. The idea being, of course, that we can then sort of like push those leads automatically into some sort of sales sequence. But right now, it's either like, you know, you connect through Slack or Captain with those individuals, or you can export the CSV and upload that into whatever platform you use.
Yeah, because there was a question about Salesforce too. Differentiation. I mean, it's funny. There was a question about differentiating from tools like Jasper, I'm sure Writer and others. And it was also funny seeing you do that with your own comparison. But for those who might have even missed the visual, the head-to-head, what's the gist of how you answer that one?
Literally every time I share it, it's so annoying because it's like the one comparison that's always at the top, the last one that we did. I think we're just so different to a Jasper. You know, for us, we're looking at this as like content marketing as being like those primary sort of like 3 pillars of like first, like creating a data-led strategy. So through the engagement tools that we're ultimately inserting into the content. So that's where we started with Captain. We're then creating content that allows you to select and choose the actual research that you want to include. And for us, like including that commentary is also like a really important piece, not only to the value of the content, but also to like distribution. And then identifying these individuals and these leads is again something that's unique to us. Like Jasper, I genuinely think the quality of content, and I'll let everyone else just be the judge, but I'd encourage you, if you haven't used like Jasper, try it out and come and use Captain, and I'd love to hear your feedback. But for us, like really, you know, we've been so focused on quality. And I say that in the sense that like every time we pitch this or talk to somebody, if you're looking to create like a volume of content, producing, you know, hundreds of articles a month or something like that, that's just not what we do.
And like Jasper, I haven't even used it as much lately, but for like some of the specialized, like if you want to create like certain kinds of ads or certain like other kinds of content, especially beyond more like the more in-depth pieces that Captain focuses on, like it's, I could see a lot of people, especially those creating a lot, using both side by side. So
yeah, and for us, like what's interesting is, you know, Outdoorsy is a good example. So Outdoorsy first came to us and they'd published like 1,500 articles previously and said, like, we just want to optimize our content for conversion with your tools. So, and I didn't mention this, like there's no coding, no development needed for any of this. It takes about 60 seconds to get set up. So Outdoorsy came to us, 1,500 articles, said they want more out of it. We then like took them maybe 60 seconds to set up. And within about 3 minutes, every single article had a podcast created, contextual CTAs, a lead magnet, a like branded like one pager for that lead magnet, and like data started to flow in, and they start to sort of like understand like what topics, what articles, what pain points are resonating most. And interestingly, one of the other sort of like things that we do is, if you have a number of products or a number of services that you offer, you add those individually into Captain. So an example I always use is like Robinhood, the investment app, right? They've got a crypto account, a high yield savings account, and a brokerage account. Captain will automatically identify the topic of the article that relates to the relevant product. So if Robinhood was to publish an article about the price of Bitcoin, Captain would then automatically pull the product, the crypto product, and insert that into that crypto article. And if they publish something about Apple stock, it would pull the product, the brokerage product in and promote that. So it's also got this like topic targeting that we've baked into it. So just some intelligence around that.
And speaking of intelligence, then there was one question about the underlying LLM or LLMs you're using, and then another dovetailing from there. Hallucinations. Yeah, well, I could just basically say that as a question, Aaron.
Yeah, that's fine.
Made it more eloquent, but especially like I'm dealing with a business intelligence client right now, right? Like they're going to be way more risk averse than say what I put on the AMG blog. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so to answer the LLM model, like we predominantly use a mix of like Anthropic and OpenAI. We also, in some capacity, use like Vertex, which is like Google's AI, like limited. We just have like a partnership with Google, so we continue to try. It's just it falls short on a number of things, but there's a few things it does quite well. But in terms of like hallucinations, like we've really stamped that out. So you'll find with Captain, if you don't conduct like or include any of the research that's being conducted automatically with our research engine, like no research will be included. So it will be, in my opinion, it's often a little bit just like generic, right? So I mean, if you'll always want to include specific research and insights from the engine, but honestly, like we just don't see any sort of like hallucination. We don't see any erroneous links or data or insights included, and honestly, like a lot of that's come down to prompting, but we also have like layer upon layer upon layer of QA. So QA spans from everything like, I think anyone who's tried and tested AI, like if you ever see the word delve or hear the word delve again, like it just gives you like shivers and shudders. And if you see things like it's, comparative structures, like it's not just this, it's this, and all those little things, those nuances that anyone who's actually, been involved in AI will know that when they see that, it just feels like a robot's written it. So we've literally like built out what we feel is a pretty robust, platform to tackle that.
There was a question early on in terms of who the best kinds of like target users are, and you can answer this, from more like broader like vertical and industry perspective. But it's like I'd even wonder for something like this, is it the people who are like deepest into content marketing, like a Jasper user, for instance, who's using this more, or is it someone who's more like who's not creating as much of this in the first place, and now you're giving them a new power?
Yeah. So look, I just wrote an investor update like 3 days ago, and honestly, like this is point number one, maybe challenge, right? Is we're seeing such a variety of customers using this, which is making it difficult for us to really like, pinpoint that ideal customer profile. We've got, I showed you Moneyline, they're a public company, stock exchange, a finance company, so heavily regulated, like billion-dollar company. And then we've got like individual, like solopreneurs. We've got small marketing teams use it. So honestly, I think we're trying to sort of work out what that sort of customer profile looks for us. But I would say that what's been interesting is we started out in October pitching to brands directly, and it was going really well. But what we found was a lot of the time they would say, "This is amazing. Speak to our agency, our fractional CMO."
Hey, David, just showing you that this works, and when somebody responds, you get the answers.
Oh.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. We ended up getting introduced to often all these agencies and consultants and fractional CMOs, and then they'd say, this is amazing. Can I use this with my other clients? So what we ended up doing was actually building out an entirely like a white label solution for agencies, for consultants, for solopreneurs. So they can now like own this on their domain. It looks, feels, breathes, smells exactly like their product and service. They can use it, and what we're seeing that they use it either as a tool and solution for their existing service or services that they offer, or they're even offering it as a self-serve platform. So setting up their own subscription pricing and just onboarding their clients and customers that way. So I think maybe to answer the question, what we've found is certainly for us, like agencies, folks that are providing the service and understand sort of like content marketing have, it seems to be like a pretty interesting angle for us. But again, we still like every day we're onboarding, you know, brands directly. But I think, as you can see, it's a muddied answer because it's a challenge of ours.
Should any of us be afraid, as Jay-Z wonders, will this replace agencies?
I don't know if it'll replace or enhance. I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that it's just it's another tool. It's another toolkit to hopefully allow you to scale and move quicker, more affordably, providing providing quality. So I think at this point in time, I really look at it as support. It still needs. It's most beneficial when somebody who understands it can at least be involved in that process, ensure that the strategy is on track and ensure that the content is on brand. So again, I see it as a way for, like I said, solopreneurs through to agencies to scale.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I was talked to in SDR that I'm working with, getting on board to like write some sales sequences for a client. I'm like, you know, and like you don't necessarily have to be as good a writer as you did in the past. You have to be a better editor.
I agree with that. Yeah, strongly.
And questions keep coming, and these are great. How do solopreneurs not get overwhelmed with all the features? How do you advise starting with a platform? Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, it's that's an interesting one because it does, like, there is a lot to captain and it feels overwhelming, especially when I go through all of those different features and sort of bells and whistles. But really, like the process of creation and publishing and everything I've shown you, like it is quite simple in the sense, like once you're in, you know, to get set up, you literally just put drop your clients or your own domain into Captain. It then heads out into that domain, understands the products and services that you offer. It defines your ICP. It maps out a 30-day content calendar for you. So that's all done. Really, all you're doing is like, you know, clicking a box, like selecting some research, clicking create, like editing it, and then ultimately publishing. All those tools, etc., will be automatically created and inserted. And of course, there's ways to manage that. But to tackle that, we have a pretty, I'd say, thorough onboarding process for either solopreneurs, new clients, new brands, where we spend, you know, the good part of a week just hand-holding you through things. We've got a Slack channel that we talk directly to all of our, certainly like all of our agency partners and solopreneurs. But I think, I'm hoping it's one of those things that once you've done it once, it's a bit of it becomes a bit of a no-brainer and simple.
Yeah, and the I mean the brand voice and tone thing is interesting because Kathy's asking about benefits of a mix of content created by Captain and human created. Does the manual human created help inform the ad, brand voice and tone? I got to say, one of the most surprising things for me when I did this is just by like entering the URL. And I did this for a few different kinds of businesses where like there are different tones and all that, how it described the yeah, it scanned the site and the material that I had there. It had a way better description of the brand voice and tone than I would have put in, and like this is like my bread and butter. And the 10 ICPs or so that it put in as far as like different target audiences also described like maybe I would have gotten like 2 of the 10 pretty well, but and then it picked up so much right away. It was almost eerie.
Yeah, we get that a lot, and I do think that's like it does perform this really well. And I'm screen sharing now. I don't know if you guys can see it, but
Yeah.
Basically when you add in, it can be like the entire domain URL. It can be maybe a specific page or a specific article that you've written, a product page where you just feel that, you know, the tone is best expressed. And Captain will sort of like map out and identify that tone. So it breaks it out into like key attributes, avoidance guidelines, and then sort of like general content creation guidelines. So when every piece of brand content is created, it sort of mirrors this. And we also have like domain guardrails where you can add in specific guardrails. So let's say you're a fintech product, you know, about with investment with an investment product, like you never want to guarantee returns, and there's certain specific sort of requirements around that, and you can just drop those in, and whenever any content's created, any CTAs, etc., it just adheres to those guardrails.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Cutler. Please.
Hey, this is one of those too good to be true kind of thing. So after I get out of my head that, you know, you're not a complete liar and this is actually works, or this is like this is a stunt from Berkowitz, like, oh yeah, this is everything that we do in a box. All right, go. All right.
Yeah.
After that, I thought it'd be very interesting for your own promotion to kind of practice what you preach, like kind of like you were doing in a way, but picking a project and maybe getting our community to vote on a project that is maybe topical to society. It might be an election. I mean, I don't want to get political, but things like, you know, greenification of our world, nonprofits that we could get behind, foundational stuff like that, to have a meme coin or something like that, and really kind of put it at something that is instrumental as our careers kind of careen against each other. Like the last thing I want to say about that kind of call to action, right? And hearing what you have to say about what's near and dear to your heart and your personal, your hobbies, that how I'm describing AI, for example, to every one of my clients. And it really has them, it's a great simple line. It's not the one that you won't be replaced by a robot, replaced by someone else to use them. That's last quarter's. This next quarter's line is everything you've learned is not going to be completely changed. It's just going to go sideways. And it just makes people relaxing. Okay, I'll reconsider everything. And then they start thinking about what they can change. So that might even be the topic, is why I'm saying it. Something as kind of meme generated or kind of a way to describe everything that we're talking about and making that the actual project that we get behind. And maybe it's something that AIMG gets behind it too. So I'll just stop riffing, but I'm wondering what you're thinking about in your life that you could get behind and turn it into a challenge, a meme, a magazine, etc.
God, it's such a good question. I don't know if I've got an answer. I swear my life just revolves around Captain, my kids, and that is all I have time for. So I'm I don't know. I'd have to give it some
maybe
thought.
That's it.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's what.
Right. How do you hang out with the
balance.
kids and do this at the same time? I mean, anyone who has kids do it. I mean, last time Berkowitz disappeared, well, because his daughter said something really clever and he had to go do it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. That's it, isn't it? It's like sort of finding that that balance. I think that's probably like maybe one of the things I'm mostly, I don't know if it's concerned about, but you know, it's funny. The other day I was saying to somebody, like, with all this automation and all this like streamlining of everything, and like I feel like we've got less time than we had before, because now we've got the tools to sort of like do more and create more and move faster. So we actually need to be more dialed in. And like, so yeah, I think it's...
So I got it. It is your choice is over, right? The thing that takes out, I don't know, 25% of my time is looking, if not more, I hate to admit it, is looking at these technologies and deciding which one I'm going to use or send to my client. right? That's
Yeah.
it. Now,
Yeah.
what your pitch could be is like, okay, you got Captain, you kind of stop having to look, you know,
Yeah.
and maybe you'll still have certain elements of the stack, right, that
Yeah.
you'll, you know, admit to being able to use, but that might be a way to give people their time back. So
Yeah.
it's just an idea.
I mean, it's interesting you say that, and I was reading. I mean, I've been reading a lot about it, so it's not, this isn't new, but it's that sort of the unbundling and bundling again, right? Where
Yeah.
it was, you know, 10 years ago, everything was like, right, be a specialist individual, very specific product that does one thing, and, you know, go out and get sort of 50 products. And I think, you know, I was speaking to Dennis, our CTO and co-founder, the other day, and I said, like, look, I think that we are moving towards that trend, to your point, where people are tired of looking for like products to solve for every single product, like problem, and having this, like, you know, 50 different receipts every month for different products. They just
For
want to be like,
for $20 each.
that's exactly right. Literally, I was reading this thing the other day, which was like, it's going to move to that case where it's like, I'm paying 5 or 10 grand a month for just like everything, like just one solution, one product that's just going to give it all to me. So, I mean, like we're nowhere near that, but we are trying to tick, like, I think, some important boxes, and we are trying to make things, like, you know, easier and more streamlined and efficient, and also, you know, cost efficient as well.
Yeah, I think the word balance is something we should talk about.
Yeah, love it.
A quick one. I know we're almost at time here, but is personalization coming at all for personalized messaging and landing pages?
Yeah, it is. I'd say, like, we're probably 8 to 10 weeks from that, but it's very much like one of our next larger features that we'll roll out. Personalized landing pages. Yes.
Okay. Great. I've also, I shared the link to sign up. I shared your Calendly.
Cool.
What are just best ways for folks? Also did a few plugs to add some votes on Product Hunt, and hope to see in the newsletter tomorrow of the top tech. But any just best ways to learn more, get in touch with you, that kind of thing? Yeah,
so I think, David, feel free to like send my personal email over in the follow up.
Great.
It's just richard@contentcaptain.io for anyone that wants to write down. So just my name at contentcaptain.io. David will also send over a Calendly link. Oh, perfect. So you can book a chat with me, and we can go through all of that. And then also, you know, you can head over to contentcaptain.io, drop a domain in, whether it's, if you're an agency, drop your own agency's domain in, a client's domain, or your brand's domain, and you'll sort of see it get to work. You'll see Captain will map out 30-day content strategy, define your ICPs, your brand tone. You'll be able to create a couple of campaigns being like those calendar items that then produces all those different assets. And then if you want to see just how it optimizes, if you have existing content, you can literally, like, 60 seconds, as I said, your content can get optimized with those tools, and you'll start to see like leads flowing in within about 5 minutes. So again, it's that, what was so important for us, just to close out, what was so important for us was almost to have like a bit of a dopamine hit, you know, as soon as possible. And that's really like what the Captain Leads product does, what the engagement tools do. They immediately start to send results while you're producing and publishing sort of more content. But yeah, as I said, 60 seconds, you should be up and running. But please, like, shoot me an email or book a time with me, and we can run through things if it's easier.
Awesome, thanks. Well, we're at time. This has been great. Thank you, everyone, for just tremendous questions. And it's just great feedback. Anyone needs an intro, let me know. I'll have the replay too available. So yeah, thank you so much, Richard. And
amazing.
Yeah, great to see what you're building there.
Thanks so much, David. Everyone, like, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.